It's a windy, rainy, stormy English day. And that fictional frog was so determined, he's been there the whole time with his favourite book, compiling his list of bad habits that need to be uprooted so that he can sow seeds to cultivate good new habits. He wants to take control of the choices that he makes. He wants them to lead to behaviours and actions that shepherd his habits into line like dutiful, loyal minions. It's only a little bit more extreme than what we all do. My point is that when we're at the table, we're not in the field. Let's give the table a name. The war table. Let's make that an acronym. We are right. When we're thinking about what needs to be undone, what needs to be cultivated, in those moments, we are not meeting in the field. The field is a place where ideas, language, even the phrase each other, even the differentiation of the good frog from the bad frog, the good habits from the bad habits, doesn't make any sense. Let's start trying to make sense of that. But trauma has left an imprint in the limbic brain. What are you creating?
It's a structure to protect the willow I've got growing here from the deer.
What would the deer do to the willow?
They come and nibble off a few shoots. It's got a function which is practical, but its main purpose is to be decorative.
Okay, I'll come back and get documentation of the final art piece.
Yeah.
And now you're transforming this area that used to be Pig Paddock 1 into a place...
A small woodland.
A small woodland that humans will be encouraged to visit.
Yes.
And deer will not be.
They will be discouraged from visiting. They can hang out just the other side of the fence.
In this particular story, the deer are the bad guys.
Potentially, yeah. Most times I just love seeing them, but not when I've got small plants this high that they like to eat all the new shoots off of. No. So all these black ones at the back are actually OXEYE daisies. Many of those little compartments are populated with an excess of plants.
There's too many.
Well, there's too many for them to be healthy in the long run, so I'll end up splitting them. The thing is, they're germinating extensively. That's a really strong aspect of the story.
It struck me as interesting that these plants that will be in the wildflower meadow are currently in the walled garden, being protected as they germinate.
Yes. It's one of those old conundrums, really. Is a wildflower meadow if someone's planted it?
Right, if someone's planted it in this secluded, protected
what
area.
I'm doing is I'm working in harmony with nature. The wall means there's no deer, no rabbits, no nothing going to interfere with that.
I think it raises interesting questions about what is natural.
Hardly anything is natural. Hardly anything is natural.
Or everything is.
Well, everything is, but nothing is natural in the sense that people think. People think natural is something that's spontaneously there, untouched by human beings.
And we're not natural.
That is actually wild, as opposed to natural, and unmanaged, which in itself is quite okay, but it's a pretense to imagine that the landscape we've got out there is a wild or natural landscape. There's nothing natural about it at all.
But how is this not natural?
Well, because it's all partitioned by hedges, and the woodlands have been left there very specifically to do a job that they were intended for centuries ago.
According to traditional farming methods.
Yeah.
Which are developed with an understanding of nature.
Yeah.
But they are methods that have been cultivated.
Yeah. So they're artificial, they're not natural, but they harness and work in harmony with nature. That's what's so healthy about it.
What are you up to today?
I'm laying carpet.
Making carpet?
I'm laying carpet.
Laying carpet.
So this
That's
is
an
carpet
unconventional.
that's going to be upside down. It's got some cuts in it so I can wrap it around a plant that I've just planted, and it's just there to suppress the weeds.
Did you invent this method?
I did.
Carpet is part of this process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Naturally. Because after all, I'm planting some new hazel that are only this long, quite small plants, in an area that I've been allowing to go to wreck and ruin with rampant brambles and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, okay.
I've got to suppress them.
You're mending your ways.
Yep. This is the solution, or part of it. You're going to go for a walk, I can tell.
Yeah. Yep. So we're walking up this hill so that we can see the plants on the roof. And this house is owned and created by Mr. Hicks. Yes. The restaurateur. Yeah. What's happening here?
Well, as you know, we've got a wildflower meadow planted over here in terms of seeds being sown, and we put this barrier in to stop the deer coming and eating my hedge. I've planted 18 plants so far. Here they are individually. This is a hawthorn, and that one's a hazel. And up here are my plants. They've been soaking for a couple hours. They're bare root plants, and I've got to crucially make sure that the roots end up in a good growing medium. The roots are going in a little deeper than would have been natural to make sure they don't dry out. The compost is nutrients rich, that feeds it, and the charcoal will hold a bit of moisture.
And what's the purpose of there being a hedge here?
Well, it's a natural boundary, it's a bit of a habitat, and it's just putting things back to the way they traditionally would have been.
Why do you like this tradition?
It's worked over generations. That's what this landscape is made of, all those hedges.
This week we've zoomed in on John and his field cultivating activities. We've also introduced the concept of the war table, an acronym for We Are Right. We want to be on guard against making being at the war table wrong. Whenever we sit down to determine a plan based on what we determine is good for us or others, we're at the war table. John might sit at the table and think growth is good, nature is good, ensuring that deer do not eat my saplings is good. Therefore, actions I will take to achieve those goals are right. In tomorrow's 5-minute Let It Hatch video, we consider how and when being at the war table goes wrong, with the help of a philosopher, Spinoza, and the neurobiologist Antonio Damasio. In the background of this scene, an unplanned meeting is occurring with Ernie and Lynn, who we will meet in week 8, titled Magic and Metamorphosis. Everything is allowed to exist when we meet in the field. From the isness of oppression to the isness of this very enjoyable dog.